Let's start with your interview. Can you tell me about yourself and what you are doing day to day, your day to day activity? Yeah, so I'm having 2+ years of experience in manual testing. So basically, working in technology company, and I have a domain knowledge in banking. So over there, I have worked on the web application and tested manually, which is kind of a mutual fund application. So I would like to continue this domain, banking domain, to utilize my knowledge, whatever I know, and also I have a basic knowledge of Selenium and the Java things, and in manual testing also I have used like writing the test cases and also utilizing the SQL queries to get the data from the database. That things I have also done with the manual testing. So talking about my day-to-day activity life, so basically what I do is I basically write down the test cases, and based on that I am writing, I'm testing the application, and also if I got some bug I can report that bug into the bug tracking tool. So on the Jira we can say that, so that it can be easily documented what exactly the bug is, and based on that we can resolve that bug. And also sending the emailable reports to managers, like whatever the test cases I have written. Sometime I send to the manager, and manager send it to the client to present the what all the testing on the application is going on. Yeah, and we are following the agile methodologies over there. We do have a daily stand up. So basically that's all the things like I'm performing, as well as I'm also exploring on the automation side, so that I can get the knowledge on automation, so that I can reduce some part of the manual testing to the automations. Yeah. Okay, so can you tell me what test technique have you used in your project? Give some example which is related to your project. Yes, so basically there are multiple test technique. We can say the boundary value analysis, equivalence class partition techniques. These are the techniques which we have. So talking about my project, like I have worked in a banking project where we have a different sets of calculator for different mutual funds for calculation part and all these things. So over there we have to check with the certain large sets of input. So instead of taking that large sets of input, what I do is basically use the test technique, like equivalence class partitioning, to check the valid and invalid values, or maybe I'm using the boundary value analysis to check the boundaries or the edge conditions. Like if our input value is taking between 1 to 10, then I can try with one negative value, that is a zeroth value, one value, and two value at the lower end, and the upper end I can try with 9, 10, and the 11 value. So in this way I can use this testing technique in real time project to maintain the quality of the application, and also not perform the exhaustive testing, which is not applicable, and also a time consuming process. Okay, can you explain me what is the bug life cycle? The entire process, you can say anyways. I don't want to listen the exact wording, but what will be the process of? Yes, sure. So basically, what happens is, in the bug life cycle or the defect life cycle is basically the first state is like a new state, where when we are doing testing as a tester, we get the bug. Okay, so that time the bug is in the new state when we create the ticket on the Jira, and then based on the bug, either the front end or the back end, we will assign that particular ticket to the respective developer. Okay, so that state is in assigned state, and when the developers start working on that, then we can say that it is in the open state. Okay, and based on that in the open state, developers checks that particular things whether it's a really a bug or not. If it is not a bug, then he or she might be tell you that whether with some proof like it's a bug or not. Based on that, they can accept the bug or maybe reject the bug that time. Okay, if it is not a bug, then they will reject that particular ticket. Or if they think like it's a bug, right, so they can go into the fixing state, so it will be in the fixed state. That time they will fix that particular bug, and then once they fix the bug, they will send it back to the QA. So QA will be retesting the same thing. Okay, so that time if they think like it is fixed or it's a verified, then it will be in the verified state. Otherwise it will be in the reopen state. Okay, so in the reopen state, what happened, why the particular things is goes into the reopen state, because the whatever the developer fixed the bug, it might be not resolved or maybe not matching with the expected condition. That's why the tester put it as a reopen state. And once again, if it is a verified, then it will be in the closed state. So in this way the entire life cycle is working. Okay, so as you said, like you worked in agile model. So can you tell me what will be the difference between agile model and V model? Some differences. Yes, sure. So basically, in agile model, what happened is it is basically a sprint task. Like it consists of different sprints. But in the V model, we have a two phases. Like one is the verification, and another one is the validation, right? So this is the first difference. And also in the agile methodology, like what happened is the development and the testing, both the things are going concurrently, we can say that parallelly. But in the V model, what happened is like the development model and the testing model are not concurrent. Okay, so also it consists of total 5 phases, and it consists of like two different 5 phases, like 5 for verification and 5 for validation, we can say that. Agile model is a iterative model, and V model is not a iterative model, we can say that. And in agile model, developers and tester are dependent on each other, because the development team, whatever they build it, and they will give it the tester to test this thing. But in the V model, developer and tester both are independent to each other. Can you tell me what are the types of SDLC model are there? So basically SDLC models, which I know, like one is the waterfall model, V model we have, iterative model, and agile model. So these are, I know, the basic model SDLC models are there. And what are the stages of SDLC model? Can you name them? Yeah, so we have a stages, like we have first planning and requirement analysis. This is the first stage, we can say that, of the SDLC model. Then we have a defining requirement, where we basically deal with the SRS, software requirement specification. Then we have a designing and product architecture phase, where all the designing and how the design of the particular product is, and what will be the architecture, that all the things will become under this stage, which we also say that like a DDS, design document specification. Then we have a another stage, next stage, we can say that, where we build the application with proper particular language, maybe a PHP, Java, or C sharp, anything. Okay, so and then after, once the building of product is done, we do have a testing the product. So the testing stage will come after the development. And then we have a last stage of the SDLC, we can say that the deployment of the product in the market and the maintenance phase. So these are the stages of the SDLC models. Okay, good. So can you tell me what are the functional and non-functional testing, and what are the 4 types of both? Can you name them, like 4 functional testing and 4 non-functional testing? Yes, so basically the functional testing, it has a specific goal where we are validating the software actions, and in the non-functional testing what happens, we basically validate the performance of the software. Like we have suppose a login functionality, so functional testing is comes under where we have to check the login functionality, but non-functional testing for the same login functionality is to after when we do the login and the login successful done, then the dashboard should be loaded in a particular seconds, like 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So the performance thing and all the things will be comes under the non-functional testing, and where the validating the product will be comes under the functional testing. So if I list down a few functional testing types, so it will be a smoke testing, integration testing, we have a regression testing, and then integration unit testing we have. So these are the functional testing type. And for the non-functional testing type, it is all about the performance. So we can say that the performance testing, load testing, stress testing, and then we have a recovery testing, baseline testing, endurance testing. So these are the part of the non-functional testing. Okay, so can you tell me what is documentation testing? Yes, so basically, document testing, it's a part of a non-functional testing. It is a type of black box testing. We can say that where it confirms that the documentation, like how to use the system, matches with what the system does. Okay, so basically providing the proof that the system changes and improvement have been documented. So that is all about the documentation testing. Okay. So can you tell me what do you understand by the coverage in testing? What do you mean by the coverage? Yes, so basically coverage is like it is a part of white box testing where when the developer write the code for the particular feature development, and then at least we have to test the coverage of that particular thing, and based on that we can say that like this particular application or the module having this 100% coverage, or maybe the 75% of the coverage. So basically coverage definitions tell that like suppose developer write 100 lines of code, okay, and at the time of execution the code is executed only the 75 lines. So we can say that the number of code is executed is divided by the number of code we have right now. Okay, so 75 lines of code are executed when the application runs, and the but we have total 100 lines of code, so it is like 75 divided by 100. So we'll get the coverage here. We can say that like a 75% coverage. Okay, so in coverage we have a different coverages like statement coverage, branch coverage, and then decision coverage. So this is basically which we have to follow for the coverage thing in the testing. Okay, so what is the difference between web application testing and client server testing? Can you tell me? Yes, sure. So basically, testing the application in intranet where we don't have a browser is an example. We can say that for the client server, like the company firewall for the server are not open to the outside world for the intranet application I'm talking about. Okay, so outside people cannot access the application, so there will be a limited number of people using that particular application. Whereas in testing an application in internet where by using the browser is called as the web testing, the application which is accessible by the numerous number of people around the world. So testing the web application apart from the above said, the testing, there are many other testing to be done depending on the type of web application we are testing. So it is a secured application like banking, we can say that, and if it is an e-commerce testing application, then we will go for that usability testing. So yeah, this is the differences for, we can say that, the web application testing and the client server testing. Can you tell me which test management tool you use to write the test cases? Yeah, so basically, for the writing the test cases, I'm using the test management tool is like TestRail. Over there, like I can just go there, and then we have options to create the test. And then once we click on that test cases, then we can write the precondition, the title, and whether it's a manual testing or the automation. We have a different sets of options are there, and then the preconditions are there, and then the description we can provide over there. And then we have a two boxes, we can say that one is the what will be the expected and what will be the actual thing, and we can also add the screenshot. So everything will be provided in the test rail for writing the test cases. So yeah, that we are using. Consider one scenario. Suppose you have an application to deliver at a client 5 p.m., and at that time you and or your team members caught a high severity defect around 3 p.m. So the release timing will be a 5 p.m., and you caught the defect at 3 p.m. So but client cannot wait that for long time, and you should to deliver the product at 5 p.m. exactly. Then what is the procedure you will follow in 2 hours? What you will gonna do? Yes, so if the bug is high severity and only we have to send the application to the client, so we have to find out the severity of the particular application, and then based on that we have to inform the client also, like this is the high severity defect which we have found. So we have a different two or three options, we can say that, like we can explain the situation to the client and ask some more time to fix the bug if he is allowing or not. Based on that, the second situation will be like if the client is not ready to give some time, then we can analyze the impact of the particular bug, and based on that we can find out the workaround for that things and mention this issue in the release note, so that it can be known to all the people's stakeholders, so that it can be it should not like that we don't know these particular things, and we can overcome this defect in the upcoming sprint. Okay. And also the third thing which we can do is normally this is a known issue, right? The limitation, we all know that. So as I said, like we can mention it and get the analysis, impact analysis of that particular bug, and we can solve it into the next sprint. So this is the one thing, that this is the one or two things we can do that. Okay, so can you tell me how can you report the defect using the Excel sheet? So what is the process you follow basically if you want to report the defect in the Excel sheet, not on some tool? So logging the defect in Excel sheet, basically we have to follow like the future that has been that had been affected. Okay. The test case ID, like what will be the ID of the particular test case where the we found the bug, and then what will be the actual behavior we have to mention, and then also we have to mention the expected behavior for that particular thing. And we will also use some sets like the test data, that is also need to mention. And also we can write the reproduce steps for that particular bug, so that it can be useful to perform anyone else want to perform the same thing. Also like the additional information which we have, if suppose we have encountered anything. And also we can assign or attach the uh, UI screenshot or some sort of video where this particular bug is happening. So this number of things, like I can mention in the Excel sheet for reporting the defect. So that will be the my approach. Can you tell me how many test cases you are going to write for a calculator that having the number between 0 to 9, and one is the plus operator, and you have a equals to button. So these three things you have. So how many number of test cases you can write like for these particular things? So basically, I have a 0 to 9 buttons, and then we have a add and equals to button. So for this, like we have totally 12 buttons, right? 0 to 9 means 10, and one is the add, and one is the equals. So there are total 12 buttons are there, and at performing the one operation, we have to use four different buttons, right? Because suppose I'm adding 1 plus 2 equals, right? So here we are using four different button. One is the one button, and then plus operator is another button, and then the next value and equals to operator. So these are the things which we are using, right? So what we can do is so like we have a different permutation and combination to fill that particular space, and then like this combination, if we consider, right? So like 0 to 9, so that is the 10 numbers are there. So I can do 1 into 1, 1 into 2, like that. So in this way we have different possibilities are 10 into 10, like the 100 possibilities are there to check all the permutation and combination. So but again, as we know, this is something a very tired process, exhaustive testing, we can say that. So here what we can do is we will perform some starting and ending point testing, where we can test one test case for 0 plus 0 equals, so we are expecting the value should be a 0, and another test case for 9 plus 9 equals, we are expecting the 18 value. So we can say that the entire process, by analyzing the thing, we can write only the two test cases are enough for calculate, like whatever the things right now we have, we can judge that like this particular functionality is working fine, and it is as per the expectation. So instead of writing n number of test cases, we can write only the two test cases. Okay, so only two test cases you are going to write for that. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Like we can write the two test cases as well. That is enough, or we can say that for testing this functionality, the based on the requirement. Can you tell me what is build duration? Yeah, so build duration is something, it is a time gap between the old version build and the new version build. So this is the, we can call it as the build duration, and in the new version build some extra features gets added, right? So yeah, so old version build and the new version build, the gap, we can say that it's a build duration. Okay, so consider if you have a project which is a long-term project and the requirement is keeps on changing. So, are there any plan where your test plan also going to be changed or not? Like based on the requirements are changing, so your test plan going to change or not? Yes, so if the requirement are changing, so our test plan will also get changed, because the number of there is one column, we can say that the resource allocation. So if the requirement are changing, for testing that particular requirement, we need our extra resource, or maybe the resource which is not allocated for that. So yes, definitely when the requirement are keeps on changing, our test plan, some fields might get changed, but definitely it will change. Yeah. Okay, so can you tell me what is the full form of Jira? Full form of Jira. So basically, I don't think so. There is any full form of Jira, but it is basically a tool which is developed by the Australian company like Atlassian, and we useful. It is useful for bug tracking, issue tracking, or the project management thing. But I don't think so. There is any full form for that. This term is basically derived from Godzilla. So like it's a Gojira or the Godzilla. So yeah, there is no full form for that things. So my last question is, since you know that this project, the requirement is totally based on the manual testing, so we are not going to expand this thing in automation as well. So are you okay with this position, or you want the automation as well? So right now I'm happy to work on these things because I will get definitely a more learning on this, either on the manual or the automation. But as you said, like this project is all about manual only, so definitely I will work on that, and based on that, in the future, if something goes, something which we require, we can discuss with the client or the manager, and based on that we can further add the automation if possible. Otherwise we have to look on the other side, like for like different things we can do for the manual also, like so that we can reduce our work and time. Yeah, so yeah, I'm okay with this thing. So yes, again, this is situation based. When the situation come, we can take decision based on that. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, thank you so much for your time also. Yeah, bye.